Right.
Okay, good.
But we can't read.
We can't read Ian Agbill. I guess that somebody already told him that. All right, never mind. I don't, Ron, we don't have 7 in the room yet. As soon as Bill and Jonah show up, we'll read you in.
But Tim's there.
He is.
As soon as Bill
Bill Orr, right. That's right. We've got 6. 6 plus 2 is 8, which is more than 7.
Come a long way.
I mean, you guys have really helped me with my math. I appreciate it. Alvin, it's your floor. Your vice chair of the.
Yeah, I found the last minute.
She's ready.
Yeah,
Okay, you ready?
Ready.
Okay,
so we just start.
No, you can't yet.
gotta call it in
We have to-
order.
We have to get one more person in the room for.
We can start the meeting. We just can't read Ron.
Ron in, yeah.
It's an information only, so we can get going.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
If it's a,
Whatever you want.
Do you have the paperwork? You have the script?
To do what? There's no script.
we can't do anything official right now anyway.
Yeah.
Stop talking. Don't listen.
Just go ahead.
We're just
Still wait for
start the
y'all.
meeting and
Jay, can you give me a PowerPoint?
Apparently not. I can go get Robert's Rules of Order. It's in my office. I don't read it. Laura?
Hi, Ken, how are you?
Go ahead.
go ahead.
I call the Resource Management Committee to order and I'll hand it over to Katie.
Great, thank you. Gonna. Thank you all for having me this evening. This is just our annual update of the Deer Management Program. You have your full packet there that has a summary of the FY24 deer season's harvests, as well as the proposed plan for FY25 going forward. There are attachments, including the specific breakdown of harvest by park and cluster for the program from last year, as well as the proposed park list, the full list by supervisory district, and a summary of the chronic wasting disease surveillance efforts from last season as well. So I'm just going to give some of the highlights during the presentation today, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Oh, wait, it worked. Okay. So as many of you, I think everyone here is familiar with the deer management program, at least to some extent. The program has been going on now. I think we're going into our 27th season. So it's been around for quite some time now. It was initially mandated by the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors back in 1998 as a public safety program due to a high number of deer vehicle collisions within the county. It's been expanded over time to encompass conflicts and mitigation for overabundant deer, including impacts to environmental health, public health, as well as now looking at herd health itself with surveillance measures for diseases. Here are the summary statistics for the FY24 deer season. Deer herd reduction took place at 108 county parks managed by FCPA, including 660 deer harvested within the parks. 590 of those were from the archery program and 70 deer harvested by sharpshooting. These numbers are up a little compared to last season, in which we had 534 deer taken on county parkland. We had 518 volunteer hunters participating in the program last season, donating 34,178 hours to hunting and scouting for the program. This number was also up compared to last season, up about 1,300 hours in hunter effort. So that's something that we want to see continuing to trend upward again to increase that harvest. In total, counting non-FCPA properties, we had 773 deer harvested in total. And that again was up over last season, in which we harvested 642 deer in FY23. Archery continues to be the most cost-effective program. It's the primary management method we have here in the county, being able to operate it when parks are open due to the security measures that are put in place. And last season, it contributed to 91% of the total harvest for the program. The graphs shown here show harvest by strategy since the beginning of the program in fiscal year 98. The green portion of the program of the graphs here show the archery program contributing the overall harvest of 83% since the program was initiated. You'll see on the graph on the right side, the bar chart, the sharp increase in harvest. Once we added the archery program, we expanded the number of parks. We've really increased it to a portion where we're very well saturated with parks included in the program. Most all of our larger parks are already included, so now we're looking for additional areas that are embedded more within the residential matrix that meets the safety criteria of the program for focusing on those areas that might provide refugia for deer and overabundant populations. Overall, the harvest trend in recent years has been declining over time, and we're looking at that collectively with the monitoring data we've been gathering for browse impacts, for deer density, for vehicle collisions, for harvest records. All of that collectively is showing us that the deer population is steadily being reduced and stabilized over time. So that decrease, we've compared that with hunter effort as well, and that decrease, we believe, based on all the data, is actually indicative of the population being reduced over time. So that's the trend that we want to see going. That should be going in that direction. As we have fewer deer on the landscape, they're harder to harvest, and our harvests are going to go down over time. We're going to shift and talk very briefly about the monitoring efforts in the program, including browse impact surveys. I'm going to let Dave Lawler handle that since that's really his wheelhouse, and he can give you an update on that.
Sure, I'm Dave Lawler, ecologist with the Natural Resources Branch. We measure deer browse impacts on native woody vegetation across 63 parks. We have 557 permanent browse plots. In FY24, when I say we, I mean me, surveyed 100 of these plots. I'm trying to do them in 4-year intervals right now, but obviously you can see if I'm getting 100 done a year, I'm not making enough progress. We have some parks that only have one data point right now. So I'm trying to get as many second data points so we can at least have some trend data. But I am trying to ramp that up. I've been getting a little bit of extra work thrown on me. But I did analyze a lot of data from the northern parks last year. And just to break down, it's not on the slide. We had 9 of 15 parks that have browse surveys in the northern region had declining browse scores, so reduced levels of browse over time. We had 3 parks that were static and 3 parks that increased. So 12 out of 15 were static or declining, which is what we want to see. Like I mentioned, I'm trying to get as many second data points on some of these plots that have been out there for a long time and only been the initial survey done on them. So we're continuing to do that, and I'm going to try to ramp it up a little bit more this year and try to catch back up to my 4-year interval. So hopefully we'll have some more information and we can include some more charts and stuff next year.
Did you want to mention some of we were talking earlier about
Oh, yeah.
Meadows?
So yeah, Huntley Meadows is an interesting park because we've had archery there for a long time. We've also done archery and sharpshooting there. And so we're having a more significant impact on the deer densities. And I of course worked at Huntley for about 17 years, was very involved in the deer program, but have been spending time down there recently, doing some other work. And we're seeing an incredible amount of recruitment in the really high quality forests, which is not commonplace across the county. We're seeing a little recruitment in some of the parks that are starting to recover as deer densities go down. But Huntley Meadows, with those combined tools in the tool bag there, sharpshooting and archery, is really showing some impressive results as far as recruitment from trees. Oaks, maples, tulip,
Mayapple.
not mayapple, black gum, which is one of their favorite foods. We're seeing nice young seedlings and saplings across the forest floor. It's really nice. So we are seeing some results.
So positive impacts for having deer management there for numerous years. In terms of actually estimating the deer population, we were doing camera surveys to estimate deer density annually in select parks for a number of years. However, because of the confirmation of chronic wasting disease within Fairfax County, there's now a year-round deer feeding ban. And so while the State Wildlife Agency, the Department of Wildlife Resources, will allow us to use bait for sharpshooting efforts, they will not allow us to use bait for doing camera surveys or any scientific studies. So currently we're not able to conduct these surveys the way that we had been in the past. We've been looking for an alternative method. One being potential use of drones, which are used readily with Montgomery County in their deer management program, as well as recently with Arlington County as they're doing surveys to discuss having a deer management program. We've met with a company that actually does these surveys as well as drone surveys for multiple universities looking at deer management. So it's very impressive. It looks like a very promising alternative. However, we just haven't been able to identify stable funding for that yet. We're looking probably in talking to at least one of the contractors in the amount of around $15,000 a year just for baseline surveys. Dave and I had talked and we're looking at maybe picking 4 or 5 of the larger parks and using them to monitor them every few years to gather consecutive data and have that be comparable over time, and then maybe work in some of the smaller stream valleys and parks as funding and time allows with that. So that's the general idea that we have. We just haven't been able to identify and actually sit down with finance and everyone to figure out proposals and what that would actually entail and waivers and everything that goes into using drones. So that is something that we're looking into further, and welcome any insight you have in terms of using that method. In terms of the program for fiscal year 2025, we're trying to make as minimal changes as possible. We really want to keep it as smooth as possible going forward. The archery season is going to maintain the same length of time from early September through mid-February, September 7th through February 15th next year. We're not currently proposing to add any new parks to the archery program. We will also not be conducting any of the managed shotgun hunts within Sully Woods. We've transitioned that area to archery in recent years, and that seems to have been working well. And then with sharpshooting, again, minimal changes. We're looking to transfer Country Club View Park, which is currently in the archery program, to sharpshooting. We've had low hunter effort at that park. I think only 1 harvest there. So we're looking to transfer that to sharpshooting and see if we can actually increase that harvest through that method. We're also looking to add Braddock Park within the Springfield district for sharpshooting purposes. One change that we are looking at is the way that we are going to notify park neighbors. Currently, we send out letters in the mail to all of the residences within 200 feet of a park parcel or 500 feet of a park parcel for archery and sharpshooting respectively. These are sent out in July just to notify everybody that they live near a park that's going to be included in deer management, including information from the website and how to get in contact with us. In the past, we get a ton of these returned to us, and what we envision is a lot of them are just getting trashed because they come in a generic mailing and just to a current resident. People probably think it's a bunch of spam and they throw it away. So we're just looking to reformat that into a postcard of some type with a picture of a deer and a QR code that links directly to the website. One postcard for archery, one for sharpshooting, so that it's more aesthetically pleasing. People might be more likely to actually visit the site, learn more about the program, and then it has all the information as well. That's really the only change we're looking for notifications. We'll be doing a narrated webinar that'll get posted on the website in August. We always do a press release in early September through the police department to notify of the program. And then we're always available to answer questions from you all, from the Board of Supervisors, meet with HOAs and civic associations, neighbors, et cetera, if they have questions or concerns about the program. Here we go. Okay. So in recent years, you've heard me talk about chronic wasting disease. This has really taken the forefront of a lot of our time and effort with the deer management program. We started conducting surveillance 5 years ago, knowing that the disease was spreading within Virginia and getting closer to Fairfax County borders. Unfortunately, in the fiscal year 2023 season, the first CWD positive deer was detected here in Fairfax County. It was a deer that was harvested on private land in Vienna, not a deer that was harvested through the county program. But because of this, Fairfax County is now included in a disease management area that's dictated by the Department of Wildlife Resources, as well as many other counties surrounding us because of the proximity to the positive deer here within Fairfax County. With the disease management area comes restrictions on deer carcass transport, the year-round feeding ban that I mentioned. There is a prohibition on fawn rehabilitation. Currently, it's peak fawning season, so we just sent out a press release about that. Basically not to kidnap baby deer because we are not able to rehabilitate them. So we want them to be left alone and raised naturally. And then increase surveillance on both public and private land through our program, as well as the Department of Wildlife Resources on private land. Okay. So the way that we've been conducting surveillance for the past few years has been establishment of freezer stations in select parks, as well as the Area 5 shop. This is based on the state's methodology that they use for hunters to drop off samples for testing. And so we've modeled this after them. We've been trained by the State Wildlife Agency staff to collect samples ourselves. And we've worked that out where our staff are actually collecting the samples, sending them out to the lab, receiving the results directly. And that's also copied to the State Wildlife Agency and their wildlife veterinary team. Last season in FY24, we were able to sample over 62% of the deer harvested through the deer management program. Just to gauge this too, we do not readily sample fawns. That's not a routine thing that is sampled. So this number is actually higher in terms of the overall testable deer. Samples were collected from 482 deer, 258 bucks, and 224 does throughout 100 parks, including non-FCPA properties. Of that, the majority, about 88% of those deer were from hunter harvested deer in the archery program. So that program really is critical for us being able to maintain surveillance efforts to monitor for chronic wasting disease. 12% from county sharpshooting, and then one deer that we sampled that was dispatched by our animal protection police. All of these were sent out to the lab. All the results through the county program have come back as not detected. I've also spoken to the state and they've confirmed that all the test results on private land as well have come back this season as not detected. So currently no new deer, and the only known positive is the one that initially tested in FY23. In total, over the past 5 years, we've sampled 1,258 deer for chronic wasting disease from 117 different parks and properties included in the program. Again, as you see here, just to break down, the majority of those, 82% overall, are from the archery program. I think that's all I have.
All right, before we go into questions, Ron, I'm going to read you in. Virginia law authorizes the remote participation of board members provided that a policy exists to ensure that such remote participation is consistently administered. This board has approved policy 111. Any such remote attendance must be approved by the board as long as a physical quorum of the board is actually present. Voice of the remote participant is able to be heard by everyone in the room, and the remote participation comports with the policy. So the first motion, verification that the remote participant's voice is clear, audible, and at an appropriate volume for the meeting room, and confirmation of their location. We have one member joining us remotely this evening. And Ron, are you connected to us?
Yes, this is Ron Kendall. I'm connected to you from my home in Mason District.
Great, thank you. I move that Ron's voice may be adequately heard in this location. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. Part 2. Pursuant to the Park Authority's Policy 111 for remote participation in public meetings, I move that Mr. Ron Kendall be permitted to participate remotely in this location, in this meeting, because it comports with the policy we adopted and a physical quorum is present here in the Park Authority boardroom in the Harity building. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right, that motion carries, and we can go back to the Resource Management Committee, and if anyone has any questions on the presentation.
So I have a couple questions. First, because I am sure it's going to come up from the community. I know that there are good answers out there because I remember asking a similar question years ago. Braddock Park, sharpshooting, you've got the school on one side, the golf course on the other, two relatively busy roads on the two sides. Is there someplace that somebody can easily click and say, yes, we evaluated this and this was the evaluation criteria and it's safe to shoot at Braddock Park?
We don't have anything that's accessible online for them to do that. They can call and speak with us. So each site that's added to the deer management program, whether it's archery or sharpshooting, gets a safety visit through with the sergeant in charge with Animal Protection Police, and many times Dave as well joins in that. And so they can call and speak to him, and he can discuss those safety measures with him. We're still in the portion of figuring out exactly how we're going to be setting up operations in that park. So once we know that more, that could be shared as
It
well.
might be helpful to, if there was someplace online to say, here's not at Braddock Park, we're doing it this way at this time, but to say,
The general.
this is the process we go through to make sure it's safe. In particular, I'm just thinking about with Braddock Park, with the high school right there, with the golf course on the other side, and then, I mean, Braddock Road and Union Mill Road are both relatively busy roads. It's just
Can
one of
I-
those things where there may get calls or questions.
You're 100% right. Here's, I think that when you do the website, the thing about those two parks is and I forget which way it goes, but there's a whole lot of natural area. And when you say Braddock Park, people are thinking of the developed area. And I think it's that neither of them are here. I think it's that the golf course is also partially on Braddock Park, or Braddock Park is partially one of the two. But people, when they look at a map and they see Braddock Park, they don't realize it's more. So I think just showing the map of that will help answering a lot of questions, because they're not talking about, because it's like this weird property line.
Right, but even when I look at the map with the paths and that
Yeah.
cross through it,
Absolutely.
but just something that says, yes, we were smart enough to look at this and we did do it and go through a process, and I think will help because it's new to this space. And these questions came up when we started it at South Run. And people were like, oh, wait, you're gonna kill people at the rec center. No, we've gone through this, we're smart, we know what we're doing. I mean, just something that we can point to.
Yeah, we have very general information on the website now, just talking about, we do host security and officers at trailheads and entrances, and close down the park, bring on extra personnel during those nights. All the sharpshooting is conducted from an elevated position down to a static location. So that information's on there. I can speak with Sergeant Powell and we can
Yeah, I'm just,
something else additional
I
to,
can just imagine, especially if somebody gets, concerned, since at least the Springfield supervisor lives in the neighborhood across the street and down across, that he might get lots of questions, and
he has
I'm
been
trying to-
notified of this
No, I'm trying
already
to
as
get
well.
ahead of giving him a way to answer those questions
Sure.
easily.
Yeah,
Um,
we can look into that.
My other question deals more generally with, as I was looking through I'm looking at the proposed park site chart. And I know that we've removed some and add some, and that's a regular thing. What strikes me as I look at like Cherry Run Park, we haven't killed a deer there in 5 years. We're gonna inform all the neighbors, we're gonna spend the money sending them stuff, we're gonna go through the whole process, et cetera. But I mean, some of these places, I mean, Brimstone Park, Cherry Run Park, Green Tree Village. I mean, there's somewhere there's like 3 or 4 deer over the course of 5 years. Why are we going to parks where we're not killing anything or very many things?
Some of those, and we have those discussions on our end as well, of whether we should just remove parks that have no harvest, low harvest, little effort. And so we've maintained to keep them within the program, as many of those areas too are smaller parks that are adjacent to others, so they can provide access for parks.
Okay.
Or again, it may just, since we are relying on volunteer hunters, sometimes they go to this park, sometimes they go to that park. So we don't want to really restrict ourselves too much by withdrawing parks. And then especially if we want to re-add them later, we feel that that might be more difficult and challenging versus maintaining parks in the program. As long as we're not having opposition and concerns from the community, to go ahead and maintain them in the program, even if they're not having, even if they're having low effort or low harvest, just to increase the huntable acreage for those areas. That's really been kind of the way we've thought
So
about
it's more
that.
of a, we might do it in the future, you're already on the list, so let's keep you on the list.
Yeah, if we start to hear, issues from neighbors about that, then we could revisit that for the individual.
I just,
park, but-
again, I know there's I mean, each park, there's a cost involved.
Yeah.
Just an inherent information and say, so I was just trying to understand
Yeah.
why in that answer.
For a lot of those, they've been in the park, in the program for years, and it's been very quiet. So it hasn't been problematic, at least from anything that we're hearing on our end from neighbors. So we've just determined to keep them in there versus it's always a risk, especially usually when we add new parks is when we first hear from everyone, and we try to quiet that as much as possible. If
questions
people are
about
used to,
product
if people are used to being in the program, then they'll let it continue.
I would just add that a lot of the parks, especially the smaller ones with zeros, are connected to
Yeah.
much larger parks. And when the hunters go in to hunt, they have to say exactly where they harvested a deer. Whether they walked across that small park or you accessed it, it's still part of a larger cluster of natural area. And so we want to give them the opportunities to move around as much.
Yeah, no, I get it, but like Huntsman Park went from 7 to 2 to 0, 0, 0. And so I was just trying to understand, I mean, there's a whole lot of homes that have to be informed based on the program. So, I mean, and you guys have given me. That's what
Yeah,
I wanted
many
to
of those areas too, because hunting is allowed on private property, bow hunting is allowed as well. So a lot of those areas have hunting in areas around those parks as well. And so there's not necessarily as much harvest within the park if
I
people
don't
are.
think, I seriously doubt that the townhouse community my mom lives in has bow hunting
Well,
going on at Huntsman Lake.
Perhaps not that.
No.
but we do in some
No,
of the
but I'm
parks
just-
that you've
no,
mentioned, we
yeah,
do, we
absolutely.
know that there is hunting around. the
Absolutely, and I was just trying to understand the number thing, and so, thank you.
Other questions? Ken?
It seems to me in the past for this program, there was some arrangement between us and the police department and I forget what the organization was called, Hunters for the Homeless or something like that, where the good was provided. Do we still do that?
Yes, we do. And I can't remember if I included that. It might be. in
It
the
is.
package.
For the charts, I think.
So we donate so for all of the deer that are harvested through sharpshooting, it's a requirement that we donate those deer.
Okay,
And so we try to make as many of those go to Hunters for the Hungry as possible, or they may go to other individual food banks or individuals. With the archery program, the hunters have the option to keep the deer themselves, or
Okay.
we do ask where they sent it, or at least if it's donated to a park neighbor, family or friend, or to Hunters for the Hungry. So we track that
so no,
information.
no change in that.
No, that's still a primary function of the program, is to donate through that organization and to get the venison in the hands of those in need.
Okay, just as a footnote, the small herd in my yard is thriving.
You have any other questions?
Eating them.
Yeah, we had two. Katie, you mentioned it in the board package this year, and then also last year, concern with processing. Is that becoming more acute, or are we more worried about it? Because that seems to be a linchpin to the whole program. If we can't process, people are gonna stop hunting, and then we're in a problem.
It's about the same. I was expecting more, honestly, of a concern or issue from our hunters last season once the CWD regulations went into play with restrictions on carcass transport. I myself haven't heard as much with that, but it still remains, there's no processors within Fairfax County. The ones that are, close by to us that the majority of hunters are using are either inundated, during mid-season, or are considering shutting down businesses, including the processor we currently use. That's been brought up over numerous years of that potential. So we are looking, still to see what options there are. Following our meeting last year, we did reach out to the zoning administration for the county and asked them to do a reinterpretation of this in light of ZMOD, since all of the
Right.
information we'd received was prior to that. And so there is some good news on that front. It sounds like initially that a deer processor, according to them, would have been classified as a heavy industrial use because it used grinding. The term grinding was used in the zoning ordinance. And so it didn't really specify whether that was industrial or
Right.
food.
Okay.
And so they have looked at that again, and we've received the interpretation that classified it more as a small scale establishment.
Oh.
They said that they couldn't really weigh in specifically on whether they would consider a deer processor that is affiliated with the county program to be a public use or not without a formal business
That's
proposal.
someone actually coming forward.
But
Okay.
they said there's potential if they received a business proposal, they could look at that in light of the county program. If the processor was providing a service to the hunters in the program and in the county, they could potentially classify it as a public use and allow that processing operation on county land.
Okay.
But until that's received, they couldn't really make a determination on that. So at least it sounds like there's some wiggle room there. The other issue, though, we can't really do much about, and that's that even if they could find somewhere that was adequately zoned, then it's the cost of the property, either to
Right.
lease it or to buy property to put the establishment on. So that's still a major hindrance to that.
Are we actively looking for a partner or are we not concerned enough yet?
I haven't honestly had time to really advance on that. We did have one member of our program who's retired that was looking to, he had actually created a charitable organization with the intention of offering processing for the county program.
Okay.
But he's the one that initiated the conversation with zoning, but was not able to find anywhere that was affordable for setting it up.
Yeah, welcome to Fairfax.
Yeah. So still an ongoing venture with that one. But yes, if any of the processors shut down further, we could be having some issues. We are looking within the program. Sergeant Powell's not here tonight, but he has been working with the Department of Wildlife Resources to host more processing classes.
Okay.
So the hunters can at least learn to process their own
themselves.
deer in case that it comes down to that.
Okay. Dave, my second question is for you. The numbers you provided to kind of give a sense of what direction we're going, that was just in the one region because of the data that they were collecting or
So no, it's for the northern region.
Yeah.
We've been working on regional natural resource
Right.
management plans. And so last year we finished analyzing all the data for the.
Okay.
And so all the data I gave you was from that plan.
Right, but were you only able to analyze that region because of the regional plans we were doing? Like, my question is, you looked at 100 spots this year. I presume they're not all in the northern region.
Most of them were not, but a lot of them were to try to make sure I had trend data for each park.
Right, so then where are we in not being able to provide that same kind of trend data? It's just we haven't gotten to those 100 spots enough times?
Correct. Yeah, they've
Okay.
only one time, a lot of those parks have only been surveyed the first time.
Okay,
So One,
how many times were the parks that you did the, whatever, 15, how many of
of the
the,
15, I'd say at least half of them only had two, and I did all of
Okay.
all the second ones in the 2 years of surveys we did in the northern, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
yep,
Um,
yep.
But there are still a lot of parks that just have one.
Have one. No, that's what I'm trying to get a sense of is how far are we away from getting data like that in more than 15
I can
parks?
get you a better number and look up all the data. I've been focused on the northern and now
Okay.
we're in the central, so I'm focusing on that section next.
Okay,
But yeah, it was on about a 6-year interval. And there are some parks that have a lot. ECL has 27 plots. So that's a couple weeks worth of work,
sure.
just in one park. And other parks just have a few. It just depends on the size of the park. So,
Good.
yeah, I do plan on doing more than 100. I think I did 140 last year, give or take. So that was almost on par with what I was hoping for in a 4-year. Just like to see a little more turnover so we get a little more trend data
Right,
on these parks instead of getting 8-9 years between data. points.
between, yep, okay. All right, cool.
One thing on the processing, I was looking online, there are mobile processing things. There are businesses in other parts of the country that literally the entire deer processing thing is in a big trailer that they just go places and do. And I wonder, I think there's one in New Jersey, just looking online. I just wonder whether or not that type of approach, might provide a better alternative to some of the folks that may not want or be able to do the land-based option, on a piece of county property or whatever. But I also wonder if you guys, if there was by the way, if you come down, if you send a truck down here for this time to this time, you might be able to get X amount of deer processed and paid that's theoretically a lot of deer. So
I can look into that. I'd need zoning and
right,
code compliance to
Yeah, I know, I
vet
know. I'm
that
just-
first too, to
but
make
I'm
sure
just
that.
putting out
uses
there
what- Yeah,
that there are some mobile options.
yeah, we haven't looked into that, so thank you. We can definitely check in and see if that's something that could be used in the county.
And in the entire county's defense, I know who I'm defending right now with the whole zoning thing that I'd like to change. That's not an issue. Like in Montgomery County, the minute I purchase a property, it becomes a park. You did not have to rezone whatever is a park use is a park use. So it's not, so if we're looking at comps, it's a lot easier in some places to, I could have put up a helipad and have, it's a park use. So it was a lot, so it might be the same thing with the other things that you're looking at where they don't have to worry about zoning or that kind of thing, because it's just, because as long as it's deep enough in the forest, I can do it,
Well, I mean, so these are like in, Wisconsin, Michigan,
Yeah.
they're around where there's lots of hunting.
Yeah.
And they're just making it easy. I'm just saying that option exists. And it may or may not be an alternative.
Yeah, and we can definitely look into that. I could see them wanting to know, where's the trailer gonna be parked and
No, I
all this
get it.
kind of stuff, but
I'm just,
it's
if I
definitely,
mean, if it becomes an
worth-
acute problem,
worth-
I'm just looking for a creative
yeah,
solution.
it's
to
definitely worth looking into.
deal with some of those other issues.
Other questions?
I'm done.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Adjourn the committee.
All right, who's next? Ken, you're next.
Call the Planning and Development Committee to order. We have, oh, there we go.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Brendan Hannafin, the Planning and Development Director, happy to be with you to go over the first quarter of 2024 for our project completions. I will mention not a lot goes on in the middle of the winter time, so we've got those 3 projects today to go over with you. I'll spend more time actually probably on the report than this presentation. So at the Ratcliffe House, apologize, we've done the pool demolition. That was that's adjacent to Arrowbrook Park, and that was to eliminate a safety hazard. It was funded by the Director's Emergency Fund. $32,500 was the cost on that. It was completed in April. Pat Rosend was a project manager, and our own Park Authority mobile crew did the work. On our mill, next slide. Our Carter Family Cemetery, this is just about done. We did want to put it on here as an update. It's off Raglan Road. The board motion for long-term stewardship of the property in February 2023 provided $95,000 for acquisition, operations, and restoration. Carter Family Cemetery represents the remnants of a thriving Black community at Freedom Hill near Tyson's Corner. In the development in the 1970s of the Carter Green subdivision, a lot was containing the family cemetery was retained by the developer but not maintained, and that's why we are acquiring it and taking it over to maintain it. There's no initial cost for the acquisition, and we will get it done this summer. Michelle Meadows is running the project, and there's no contractor, as we're doing it ourselves. Providence District. Oakmont Rec Center, this is a small project, but at the time it happened, it was a very big project. Like a portion of the Oakmont Rec Center, so we had to do the repairs there. Structure was inspected by our structural engineer to confirm that there was no underlying structural damage. That was our main concern. But there was no underlying structural damage, so we replaced the damaged masonry. It was funded through the Oakmont operating funds, and it's cost $5,700 to do the block repair and the repointing. Pat Tomlinson managed the project, and we had the Matthews Group do the work. I think that might be it for our 3.
Don't we have one that just finished yesterday? Technically.
This is for the winter,
Oh, okay.
so
gotta-
it should,
they have to have
Next
next
quarter.
together.
next quarter, the restrooms, next quarter, the restrooms will be in. Put it on the cover.
About it in August, when we.
Yes, and of course, the inline skating.
And inline skate,
Our
there's
project's
a whole
coming
bit
on
of,
board in the next quarter.
the next quarter is gonna be great.
Brendan, you got my question. The Oakmont
Yes, on the
cost.
changes to the cage, the batting cage and the
Oh, no, my question was why the person that hit the building
the insurance.
is paying for.
I have not tracked that down yet.
Okay.
I'm assuming something's in the works on that one, but I haven't had a chance to get with that.
No, I just wanted,
Thank you.
it's a small amount, but
They hit it, that's for sure.
they hit it. Okay, any other questions? Okay. Next.
Thank you.
The lady who lost control of the side.
I'll
show you the video.
I don't know if you've met, Jonna and a couple others, if you guys want to introduce yourselves.
Melissa Emery, Special Projects Branch Manager in Planning and Development.
Mohammed Biwani, I'm the Assistant Division Director, for Planning and Development.
Thank you, Amy.
Sweet. Drive my own.
You need to point it.
Can do. Cub Run Rec Center, we're looking to replace the competition pool filter. Scope approval for that. It's currently being served by aging and outdated sand filters. You can see those in that top photo. We're looking to install new high rate sand filters. They'll be consistent with what we just did in the leisure pool last summer. New Schedule 80 above ground piping. So just get everything new and spruced up. Originally, we were looking to do that this summer. As of today, actually, we're going to push that shutdown till 2025 because the manufacturer is reporting as of today a 16-week lead time, and it's only growing. So that would not fit with the August to September window we try to hit to avoid impacts to classes and camps, high school swim. But we are going to move forward with still all the permitting and getting the purchase order in place, get the filters ordered. So that way for next summer, it's already ready and shouldn't be any delays there. And still finishing scope here in second quarter. Design will still be finished in third quarter, and then construction would now just be pushed to third quarter of 2025, and funding in the amount of $400,000 in park bond funding. Any questions?
Is there any reason why Schedule 80 is specified?
So it's just a thicker pipe, so it tends to last longer, less likely to have leaks, that kind of thing. It's just our aquatic consultant recommends that as a best practice, and we've done that in the other filter replacements we've done, and we also use the same piping on the new edition of the water mine way back in 2014.
So it can rust a lot, I guess is what.
So it's PVC. It's just got a thicker wall on it. So since these pipes are under pressure, it's more robust.
Yeah, it's not necessary. Especially with PVC, where there's not a corrosion problem. I don't know how much that would increase the cost, but Schedule 40 is fine for that use. Anyway, sorry, never mind.
Right.
Just because it's Cub Run, and I always want to say when we're talking about Cub Run, it'd be nice to figure things out with the school system at some point.
He's coming up fast.
Who's Cub? Oh, Maggie's not here. Cub Run's Maggie, right?
Yes.
You're gonna slowly talk out of that's the last Cub Run project that we're ever gonna do.
Well, should be. It's nice finishing something for the schools to take over, I guess.
Moving right along.
I would agree with that.
I inherited.
Any other questions? Consensus to move this forward?
Yes.
Okay. Jefferson Manor.
And also, if you guys would introduce yourselves.
Yes, of course. Good afternoon. My name is Sayonara Aguilera. I'm the project manager for Building Branch for Planning and Development. And today we'll be presenting the Jefferson Manor Park restroom renovation and ADA accessible trails. And this is on Franconia District.
Yeah, second. I'm Andy Miller, manager of the Building Branch Planning and Development. Button is it?
He's trying.
It might be, she might be too far away. It's to this left. What's the difference? Okay.
Okay.
All right. The location is at 2909 Farmington Drive in Alexandria, Virginia. This is a 14-acre local park. This is about a half mile away from Richmond Highway and about a 10-minute walk from Huntington Metro Station. Right? The existing site does not have any pedestrian trails, and there is no accessible routes to any of the existing amenities. As you can see in the pictures, we have some erosion issues due to vehicle maintenance, and also we have drainage issues around the basketball court. The project is basically coming out of the accessibility improvements needs due to the Department of Justice federal requirements, where it mandates to meet the 2010 DOJ standards for public facilities. The project includes providing ADA trail access to the existing park amenities, creating an ADA parking space at the existing parking lot, updating the restrooms for ADA, and providing access to the existing entrance, serving the adjoining communities. And the goal is to do this with minimal impact to the surrounding environment and to the trees. It's important to note that the trails connecting the park amenities have been designed for the approved master plan. And also, I'd like to note that we are not adding or changing any of the amenities. This is just limited to providing access to what we have. Here's a good photo of the existing field and how we're planning to provide pedestrian trails to all the amenities and ADA in mind. The first item we addressed was the providing upgrades at the restroom and shelter structure. We're also adding van-size accessible parking space at the existing parking lot, pedestrian trails again to the existing restroom shelter structure, basketball court, an existing playground, and then open picnic areas. And we are also adding some outdoor furniture. We're basically replacing the existing non-ADA furniture with accessible furniture as well. Here's a sample of the furniture we have. On the left, this is existing outdoor furniture, and we're providing everything up to date ADA furniture for the space. Schedule of funding. The permitting completion scheduled for the third quarter of calendar year 2024. We had good news, and we actually received the permit today. Construction would be slated to start pending park board approval around on or about July. Basically, the permit states because of new regulations would allow us to start on July 1st. And then construction completion quarter this year. We're shooting for early fall. Funding is provided by a combination of two funds, 2020 park bonds and general county construction funds for a total project of funding of $1,300,000. And on the left, you can see a small photo of the overall layout for the new trails. Okay. We also would like to show how the project supports the process strategy. We do have two of the strategies checked. In this case, we looked at and analyzed and prioritized the recreation needs with an equity lens. We identified that the area surrounding the park is a high density area. And also by providing ADA trails and picnic tables, we are enhancing the access to the complete park experience. We already have a community around the park, so that's existing. So we chose not to include the second item about improving 10-minute walk. It's something we already have. And we are not connecting to other parks directly, so we couldn't check the last box for the strategy, but it's something that we're keeping in mind on all of our projects. Right, and in conclusion, I'd just like to say that we would like to request approval for the project. And if you have any questions, please do reach out to us and just go ahead if you.
Yes, Jim, just quickly, your layout slide, slide 6 shows a very short non-ADA segment? And my question is, why is that the?
Yes, that's an excellent question. Through the analysis of the job site, here's shown in orange. And the reason for that is that is the path that the community currently uses. And it's on a steep hill coming from the structure to the rest of the park. So if we left that as is, it would be a sleeping hazard, so it's a safety issue. Also, that would be a constant erosion problem. So we are providing that section. It's a short section of non-ADA, but because of the steepness, we're going to have handrails on both sides for safety.
Thank you very much.
Other questions, comments? Consensus to move this forward?
Yes.
Did we do consensus on the last issue?
We did.
If nothing else, the Planning and Development Committee is adjourned.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Linwood?
I'd like to call the Park Operations Committee to order and turn it over to Kim. Thank you very much. Are you going to turn it over to someone else?
I am. Good evening, everyone. Kim Ecker, Division Director, Park Operations Division. We have a pretty full agenda tonight for the Park Ops Committee, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Julie Tahan to present our Maston Brook grant proposal.
Thank you. So tonight we have a Maston Brook grant request from the Mason District Little League for a project at Park Lawn Park in the Mason District. Before we present the project, we'll provide a little background on the Mason District Little League for those not familiar. The League has been a valuable partner in the county's Adopt a Field program since 2017, with all the contributions of volunteer service and funding that goes along with that. They've adopted fields at Park Lawn Park as well as Mason District Park. In fact, their adoption of Mason District Park Field 1 led to a partnership with the Washington Nationals, and that was the first partnership that we had with the Nationals. That partnership achieved significant improvements to the field at Mason District Park, including aerial lighting upgrades, extended outfield fencing, complete field regrading, establishment of new natural turf, batting cages, and dugouts. At the field dedication, it was named the Ivan Pudge Rodriguez Field. Today, the Mason District Little League continues to serve the Annandale, Alexandria, and Falls Church communities by providing opportunities for children to learn lifetime skills in leadership, sportsmanship, and teamwork. The League is completely administered and managed by volunteers. There you go. Okay, thank you. So about the project, a renovation of the diamond field at Park Lawn Park is needed to address suboptimal playing conditions by improving drainage and renovating the infield. Thanks, Alice. Okay. The project location here, we see it it's the aerial view of Park Lawn Park. The park is located on Lincolnia Road in Alexandria, and it's classified as high opportunity on the Paray Equity Index. Plus, it's in a high density area. Next slide, please. The infield experiences numerous areas where water pools after rain events. The field is poorly sloped, and large lips have developed on the infield edges. These chronic conditions combine to prevent water from draining, leaving the field unplayable for longer than we typically see with our fields. The project plan calls for installing a new infield area measuring 3,600 total square feet and adding sod in an area measuring 4,600 square feet to include the first base foul line, the third base foul line, and the third base coach's box. Regrading will also be done, and the project will be managed by the Park Operations Division through existing contracts. The total project cost estimate is $25,891. The project will be funded by a donation of $12,946 from the Mason District Little League, along with an equivalent amount in Maston Brook grant funding. Maintenance costs for the infield will be managed through Mason District Little League's existing Adopt a Field agreement. Fiscal impact of this grant, if approved, will be $12,945 from the 2020 Park Bond Construction Fund. The resulting balance in funding set aside for the Masterbrook Matching Fund Grants Program will then be at $604,115. So in recent response to guidance from the board, we are now taking a look at how each Masterbrook project applies to PROSA. These next two slides are based on the template provided by staff in our planning division, similar to what you saw in the previous presentation. So as the check mark in the topmost line indicates, the area of PROSA that this project supports is the prioritizing of recreation needs. And we'll explain that further on this next slide. So as mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, Park Lawn Park serves a high prairie area. The importance of this project is that it will provide the community served by the park with increased playing opportunities by reducing the length of field closures. In conclusion, staff is recommending approval of the Masterbrook grant for $12,945 to Mason District Little League for the Park Lawn Diamond Field renovation project presented here.
I've got one. Help me on, if we could back up a couple slides to that right there. And this may not even be a question for you, but can somebody explain to me exactly what that criteria for the third equity test is there? I guess we could come forward one more slide. We're back one right here.
Oh, the third.
So it enhance access to complete park experience. We're making this so it can be used more, but maybe I'm missing this.
So the complete park experience in PROSA is we want to make sure that our residents have a 10-minute walk access not only to a park, but to an experience. So if everybody, think of it this way, if half of the county has a 10-minute walk access to Huntley Meadow, we can't just check the box and say that they're served. So we want to make sure that our parks has something from 8 months old to 80 years old. And so the complete park experience has an active elements, passive elements, or contemplative elements, and social gathering elements. So we look at that. So there might be a park that has one thing, let's say a park that just has fields, but doesn't have a trail around it, doesn't have a picnic table that you can sit at, doesn't have a place that you can read a book. We might want to add in experiences to make that a complete park experience.
So for the third box to be checked, we have to actually be adding an experience, not improving an experience.
You would check the third box to add. We put that in there.
Not improve.
Well, improve if in fact it was unusable before. And so I would say if there's something that's there that you can't get to, like a trail, like, oh, we want to make it usable, then I would, check that box. But it really is so that if everything in PROSA is filled and we say, let's take the, I'm just making something, let's take the inline skating rink. Let's say all Lake Fairfax Park was all passive. It was all just contemplative, forested. But the entire community has a 10-minute access to it. But then we add the inline skating rink. It doesn't change the PROSA map in any way, but it does because it adds a whole other experience that those people who live around there can have a access to now. And so it does fill a gap, and the gap is experience.
Okay, so it was stated in the presentation that part of this renovation is to be able to drain better, to use this facility more. So I'm just.
But it already had active, so we're not adding another. There's other active elements.
It has to be an added thing, not an improvement
Correct.
of an existing.
Correct. An added element, yes, to one of the three experiences.
Anybody else have any questions about? Yeah, Bill.
This is, I was a Little League district administrator until 2 years ago in District 7. And this was the first program to really take advantage of this. And this thing needs to be done as quickly as possible. This may be the worst field in the county. It slants this way, and it's a wonder somebody hasn't got killed from the lips on these fields from getting hit in the face.
Face with the ball. Yep.
So
yeah, could I make a comment about this field, because the history behind this field is that it was actually the first field that we were supposed to work with the Nationals on. So it's been waiting since that time for the renovations that the Pudge Rodriguez Field received. I am not sure if we've had any additional discussions with the Nationals program itself, but if we were to come back to a piece of property that could benefit from their support, this would be one of the ones at the top of the list.
The biggest problem that the Nationals and Major League Baseball had is because of the orientation of the field.
Yeah.
They would have had to flip the field completely around because of the drainage issues, and it was just cost prohibitive to do anything, and that's why it was.
The other question?
I do. Just for my memory, maybe someone else's, could you explain parade? Say it for me. Parade for me again. Someone, if they could.
Park Authority Racial Equity Index.
Okay. And it is measuring what?
It's measuring opportunity areas. It takes into account all of the things that the opportunity areas for the county takes into account, but we basically we add race and we add income.
Right on top of the counties. All right, that's right. Okay, that's coming back to me now. All right, so then my actual question, and I do appreciate, I know we asked for it, so it should be in there, but I'll say it anyway. I do appreciate that this level was added to it. I like the additional information, the proposal that the community had. That was really nice to see, and that's actually where one of my questions is coming from. So in one of the responses, the individual who submitted the Massenbrook request said the field is open to anyone when we are not using it. And I don't mean to pick on this group or this field, but community use generally is an issue. So they're just happen to be the one in front of me. So I'm curious, how often do we know is it that they are not using the field? So it's more something to think about moving forward, less again about this one in particular, but it did strike me that they're using that as a defense in support of this. I suspect the open piece of this is probably pretty minimal, but I can be welcome to be proven wrong about that.
So there's discussion.
Okay.
I don't want to dive into too much here. But we monitor it. NCS schedules it. Those discussions are going on, required hours versus scheduled hours. So it's very, very on the surface right now. So it's a very good question.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think it's fair to say that the discussion is about the belief that I think the baseball community in particular has the concern that the amount that they are under allocated is not being correctly taken into account. That the formula that is being used right now, they feel does not reflect reality of the way fields are used, and that the number of practices or number of games or whatever else. But I will also say that I think it is fair to say that seasons like this season, where lots of fields are closed for lots of time because of all the rain, that looks very different than a season where you have no rain.
Right, you have a dry spring.
Yeah. In terms of use and those things. But by the needs assessment, the every 10-year, hopefully 5-year needs assessment piece, for example, says just based on population, for example, that we're short, I don't know, like 80 plus rectangular fields or whatever. I think this formula perspective that they're going through is just trying to better understand how to allocate space. I don't think it'll ever come back saying, oh, we have all this extra space.
No, and I'm not necessarily looking. Go ahead.
Because we're gonna have to talk. I am the complete opposite opinion. We are over allocated. I think that we both have to be proven wrong because we are over allocated. I believe that a lot of them are over allocated. I hear a lot, we need more, and my response back is we need to improve what we have, because I drive by fields on Saturdays and they're not being used at all. And so I think that when we're talking, and maybe I gotta talk to myself, when we're talking about the allocation policy, we have to figure out how we actually identify the needs and not by necessarily a formula, because we are I think that this conversation proves that we need to fix the whole thing, because you think that they're under allocated. I 100% think they're over allocated. Like, you could cook me up to a lie detector test. I think they're over allocated, which makes it harder for new groups to come in because they don't. So I think we need to figure out what the what is.
So let me add context to this. This is a field that, although allocated, had been taken out of the rotation.
That's the other thing.
From Mason District because it was in
Bad
such horrible
condition,
shape.
yes.
The positive thing is because of the Pudge Rodriguez field and some other activities that are going on within Mason District Little League is actually one of the little leagues that's actually growing. They're growing their base. So their numbers are growing, and therefore the need for additional really, really nice. Like I said, this field was unplayed.
Yeah, no,
You could see that.
I said that
Absolutely.
to Jay. You can see it from the lip on the infield. I mean,
But now with the numbers, I certainly.
no, and again, I don't want to pick on. I'm clearly stepped in the hornet's nest. I don't mean to pick on this program or this field, but because it's the first time I saw an application as part of the board, that sentence caught my eye because it's something that's come up in front of this board before, where the private versus public benefit of these things and the money we're spending. So I am very attuned to that. So every time I see it, I'm going to ask the question. So it's good to know that we're thinking about it, paying attention to it, because it's on top of my mind. So anyway, I'm done on that. Let's move on before.
Okay. Any more questions?
No, no.
On this being in Mason District, I just want to make sure that it's a project that uses.
Then we have a quick one.
Just as a
Oh,
follow-up
sorry.
on that, I mean, I would also be curious as to whether the Little League has restrictions on who can play in the Little League, because some of these leagues are restricted to the district that they, the local community. So I'm just
Well, this Little League has residential restrictions, just like every other Little League does. So only people within the Mason District, as it's defined by the Little League and their boundaries, play on these fields.
And one of the strange quirks of sports worlds is that, for example, soccer is a wide open play wherever, do whatever. Lacrosse is not. You can, if you're a lacrosse player, you can only play for a club that is assigned to the high school, the house you live in right now. You'd be going to it at whatever future date. So, if your daughter was going to go to Lake Braddock, there was only certain clubs your daughter was allowed to play in that process. Basketball has limitations in it. Soccer is wide open. If you want to drive across the county and play rec soccer, go for it. Who cares? Whatever. So different sports have very different alignments on how to deal with leagues and those kinds of rules. And even within baseball, some of the different leagues define their areas differently.
And there's also a difference, just to defend, there's really a sport difference in community use. And this is not, are there people who are going to go out and just want to play a pickup game of baseball?
No.
Sure, but not really,
No.
right? It's the rectangular fields that really do conflict sometimes with community use, or two diamonds that have enough space in between that you can play a pickup, soccer game. So even if there was the availability, it's not, I think it's a little different when you're talking about a single baseball field.
And I would also say that the thing that I see kids doing is actually going out and hitting in those little cages. Like, that's what they do when, that would be really great if people in the community had access to one of the little practice cage, because they can do that on their own or with two or
So
three
it's
other
interesting you
kids.
say that, because the baseball community has previously suggested that one thing that would be very helpful to them is what I would call a practice facility. It's basically two infields with batting cages and pitching in a pitching thing. And that you could rotate two teams through that space I guess, I mean, I'm not I wasn't a baseball coach, but I didn't have kids that played baseball, but that you could go through that process relatively efficiently. And that you wouldn't and therefore you wouldn't have one team taking up an entire diamond for a practice. And so they've actually suggested that there are creative solutions like that that could be helpful. We do have batting cages. Braddock Park has county batting cages. And there's Northern Virginia Regional Park Authority has some batting cages. Some things like that from that perspective. But
I mean, I was just kind of thinking more like the kids that are trying 10 minutes walk away, like what could they do on that? And, if they're not going to play a full game, they'll go and just learn how to hit the ball or, practice catching, that kind of thing. I mean, the other thing is that they would have access to the field when baseball's not in season, right? So it'd be like the rest of the. Sometimes it's too cold. Sometimes it's too cold.
All the fields are scheduled to use, and if no one, if it's not permitted time, the permit holder isn't using it, people walk on and use
it. Anything else? Ron, this is in the Mason District. I'm assuming you support it.
I do support it.
Consensus to move this forward?
Yes.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
All right. All right. So our next item is park highlights, park improvement highlights from the second and third quarter of this year. So as a reminder, those are park operations projects that were completed in October of 2023 through March 2024. Right, first up in the Braddock District. So we have walkway trail improvements at Lake Accotink Park. This project included the removal of the wooden boardwalk, installation of a concrete boardwalk. Of course, this is going to be more durable and will extend the lifespan of the amenity. This was funded by the General County Construction Fund. The cost was $60,000. Completed in January 2024, and the project manager was Marco Suarez. In the Drainsville district, we have a restroom renovation at Arrowbrook Park. So this project included the renovation of both men's and women's restrooms. We installed new wall tile and floor tiles, installed new plumbing, LED fixtures, partition, and vanities, painted the interior, installed new ceiling tiles and grids, and the exterior of the building and walkways were pressure washed as well. This was funded by General County Construction Fund. The cost was $133,475, completed in April 2024, and the project managers were Alan Crawford and Ron Pearson. Next up, we have the lighting project at Turner Farm Park. So this project included the removal of the existing lights, and our project manager worked with a manufacturer in Canada for a retrofit. This installation of night sky retrofit light bollards. Our project manager did work closely with the Analema Society, and as a result of the improved lighting, the site achieved designated and was designated as an urban night sky place for the Dark Sky International. This project was funded by the Masterbrook Grant and the donations from Analema Society. The cost was just over $10,000, completed March 2024, and the project manager was Russ Davis.
Linwood, if I quick interruption, just for the record, I think Analema Society would prefer to refer to that location as Observatory Park at Turner Farm. I think that's what's in our mutual agreement. And anyway, just wanted to make that statement. So thank you very much.
We'll remember that for next time. Thank you. In the Hunter Mill District, we have a porch and window restoration at the Ash Grove Historic Site. So this project included repair and restoration of the front porch. We used a contractor that specializes in historic restorations. 33 windows and 3 doors were restored and insulated, and we used the Environmental Improvement Program funds. The Ash Grove House was built in 1790. This was funded by the General County Construction Fund. The cost was $84,580, completed March 2024, and the project's manager is Russ Davis. We have another restroom renovation at Fred Crabtree Park. So this included, again, renovating the men's and restrooms, men and women's restrooms, installed new wall and floor tiles, installed new plumbing, LED fixtures, partitions, and vanities, again, painted the interior and exterior, was pressure washed of the building and the walkway. So this was funded by the General County Construction Fund. The cost was $86,766, completed in April 2024. And the project managers, again, were Alan Crawford and Ron Pearson.
And Kim, I know you guys are going to be sick of me talking about bathrooms, but I cannot tell you what a game changer this whole program is. I know for those for new and, you know, whatever it is, just, I mean, it's such a difference. And having one standard, you walk into these bathrooms and you think something like a bathroom, is it important? It changes everything, right? It says you're welcome and we care about you. It is just, it's going to be you guys' legacy. I'm telling you, this is phenomenal. It is. I mean, you sound stupid. You're going to walk into the bathroom that's done and you're going to be like, holy, this is like me. You're going to touch the walls. It's great. They're so pretty.
There's even more coming up to show.
I know.
How great it is.
Stop, I won't, you know.
Metro agrees with you.
Huh?
Metro agrees with you.
Yes. See?
Right. Next up in the maze. Oh, I did respond. All right. At the Leahy Lost Valley Park, we did some window repairs and repaired the windows and restored leaking basement windows on the historic property. The Leahy Lost Valley House was built in 1810. Funded by the General County Construction Fund. The cost was $9,485. This was completed in March 2024. The project manager was Russ Davis. Right, next up, Mason District. So we assembled, transported, and installed picnic tables, benches, trash cans, and bike racks to the Eileen Garnett Civic Space. This was funded by the General County Construction Fund. The cost was just over $5,000. This was completed in October 2023. The project manager was Laura Troy from Area 2, and this was completed by Area 2 crew. Next up, we have a fence replacement at our facilities and equipment maintenance shop. So the perimeter security fencing was replaced at the facilities equipment maintenance shop. A total of 235 linear feet of fencing was installed for security. We do have a lot of equipment there, as well as other things that we need to secure. So this was funded by the General County Construction Fund. The cost was just over $22,000, completed January 2024. And again, the project managers were Alan and Ron Pearson. Alan Crawford and Ron Pearson. Next up, we have an athletic field refurbishment at Jefferson Village Park. Part of this project, we removed the natural grass from the infield and wing areas of the youth baseball field, regraded the field, installed new sod, and we rebuilt home plate in the pitching mound to Little League specifications. This was funded by the General County Construction Fund. The cost was $6,900. The project was completed March 2024. The project manager was Michael Harris, and it was completed by the Area 1 athletic field staff.
It's pretty, isn't it?
Another. Oh, wait, there's more. Another restroom renovation at Pinecrest Golf Course. So this project included, again, the renovation of men and women's restrooms in the clubhouse. We installed new wall and floor tiles, new plumbing, LED fixtures, partition, hand dryers, and vanities. We also installed ceiling tiles and grids. We painted the interior. This was funded by the Sinking Fund. The cost was $135,569. This was completed on October 2023, and the project manager was Kenny Erf from our facilities. In the Mount Vernon district. So at Laurel Hill Golf Course, we refurbished the clubhouse. Some of you may have remembered we had a geothermal mechanical issue there. And so this is the result of the renovation after that. So we installed new flooring in the ballroom, restaurant, conference room, staff offices, and the pro shop. We replaced the floor in the kitchen. We added new furniture in the restaurant area and painted the clubhouse. This was funded by the Revenue Fund. The cost was $157,000. This was completed March 2024, and the project manager was Russ Davis. Just wanted to show you this piece that we did salvage some of the floor tiles and reuse them over at GW Rec Center. So we just wanted to show you all that we're trying to reuse and salvage what we can when things like that happen. This was funded by the General County Construction Fund. The cost was just over $1,200. Completed March 2024, and the project manager is Russ Davis. In the Springfield District, the ticket booth refurbishment at Braddock Park. This project included the replacement of all of the siding, framing, and trim, the replacement of the wooden shingles on the roof. We added weather shield, copper drip edge, and EcoStar on the roof. Replacement of the gutters and downspouts. And we repainted the ticket booth siding and door. This was funded by the General County Construction Fund. The cost was $14,256, completed November 2023. The project manager was Kenny Erf, and this was completed by our facilities team. Next up, we have a trail renovation at South Run District Park. So this was part of a life cycle overlay. This trail is far beyond its life cycle, as you could tell in the before pictures. So that's a total of 3,700 linear feet. This is an elevated trail, or we elevated it when we did the project, 160 feet of paved trail and added culverts needed to basically mediate the beaver dam nearby. So remediate the beaver dam nearby. The trail runs from Lake Tree Drive to Fieldhouse parking lot and Lake Mercer property. This was funded by the BOSFC Act. Cost was just over $131,000, completed in December 2023, and the project manager was Karen Dover. Last one.
Before you go on, I'm gonna ask the question because I'm curious. The trail isn't elevated, like it's not in the air. What does it mean to elevate a trail?
I think they changed, I think they elevated it where they changed the drainage of it.
Okay.
And I think they inserted some culverts to help with the drainage.
Okay.
I think it's in spots that it was.
Okay.
That's not be right, the picture where it actually built up. I think what they did is they built it up.
Oh,
I
okay.
think it's the curvature also. I think that they did it so that it drained water better
Gotcha.
to the sides.
I'm stuck on the word elevated.
He's stuck on it.
That's fine. Move on.
But we can do an elevated one if you'd like.
Or we'll just use wheels.
Let's get it a couple feet off the ground.
All right, restroom renovation at Twin Lakes Golf Course.
Amazing.
So this was quite the change. You can see from the pictures of the old yellow partitions. Of course, this included the men and women's
Like high
restrooms
school
in the
back then.
clubhouse. Installed new wall and floor tiles, new plumbing, lockers, new ceiling tiles and grids. And we added a dress area for the women for wedding events. This was funded by the sinking fund. The cost was just over $159,000, completed February 2024, and our project manager was Kenny Erf from the facilities. Questions? Any more questions?
Ron, do you have a question?
Yeah, well, actually, my question is about the future, not the past. When is Jefferson Golf Course on the list for renovation? Because it seems to be the last one on the list for anything when it comes to the golf courses at this point. Their clubhouse and their restrooms need to be done.
We can check our condition assessment list and get back to you. I'm not sure exactly where it is on the list, but I'll definitely check and follow up with you.
Let me know too, if you would.
Anybody else?
You just want a pretty bathroom.
Thank you very much, Kim, for that presentation.
We
Got
have-
two more,
we
right?
have two more. Come up here for the next one. So next we have, I'm doing it or you're doing it. Next we have a trash recycling update. So that is a picture of a compactor that you all will see in two of our areas moving forward. But they'll be at the area maintenance shop, so they won't be, in the public eye. So just give you an idea. So as you all know, the Park Authority put in a budget request in FY25 for just under $4 million for zero waste, trash and recycling. Of course, this would help us improve our trash collection throughout our park system, but also help us align county requirements. So in our current model, we have maintenance staff that spend 2 to 3 days per week on trash, and that impacts the ability for them to focus on other park maintenance. This will provide additional trash and recycling services in our parks on weekends, which is a challenge now, as some of you know. And then it will also ensure that trash and recycling separation is occurring at our parks and transported according to standards. So as a result of that request, the Park Authority was partially funded for phase one. So there's a phase one investment of just over $1 million to support 4 merit positions and 4 non-merit positions, along with all of the capital equipment that would be included in this implementation. So that's 2 compactors, all the recycling containers that you see out there in the parks, as well as the trucks. So our next step as it relates to funding is we are going to request in FY26 the remainder of what we would need to have full implementation in the park system. So of course, this would provide additional trash and recycling services in all of our parks, all 420. So right now, just to give you an idea, phase one includes area 2 and area 5. That's about 126 parks. So a third of our park system. Funding will allow Park Authority to provide recycling services in all 6 Park Authority area maintenance shops and areas. And given the county's commitment to zero waste and to ensure FCPA is in compliance with the county's recycling ordinance, we hope the FY26 budget will include funding for full implementation of the program. Of course, funding should include the required capital investment of trucks, staff, and everything that comes along with it, the compactors for each area, the recycling bits. So we wanted to give you an idea of what our timeline was. And what you would see in the parks there. So we are actually in the process right now of ordering the 2 trucks that we'll need. We're working with DBS to look at options as we'll anticipate a year for delivery of those trucks. So that would impact our implementation. We're ordering 2 compactors. We have already ordered a lot of the recycling receptacles and we'll order more. In June 2024, we'll advertise all of the positions. In September 2024, we'll onboard those employees. This is where it gets a little tricky with the trucks. We won't have the new trucks yet, but with the season quieting down and us working with the Department of Vehicle Services and their loaner program, we'll be able to sort of reallocate temporarily 2 of our trucks to cover this until we get the new trucks, as well as DDS is going to work with us on their loaner program. So we already have one of their loaners. So in October 2024, we will install all of the new recycling receptacles you see there on the left, just to give you an idea of what the community will see. And then we will begin recycling in areas 2 and 5. And again, that's about 126 parks. And then in May 2025, we'll receive those new trucks and redirect the existing trucks back to their original operation. Yes, Jay.
I'm having a bit of how many areas are there?
There's
5?
6
There's
areas.
6. I was right.
That's
Okay,
correct.
6. Okay.
6 areas.
Oh, you were doubting
We
yourself.
have
I
4
wasn't-
more areas.
Because he was looking at me weird, so I wasn't gonna make sure. Say 2, it's 1/3 of the total.
That's correct.
So that's where my question lies. So this phase 1 idea is great this year. Maybe the board will fund us a year from now, but perhaps they will not. What's the plan for the other 4 areas? Because I'm not in love with the idea of, I'm sure area 2 and 5 have great parks. I'm not in love with the idea of that being, they're getting effectively special treatment of a sort for until we get funding from the Board of Supervisors. So you might not have an answer for it now, and that's fine because we're just getting this funding. We get the budget just got approved. But I don't know if we have a plan, but we need to think about a year or 2 rollout if we don't get fully funded.
It should have been area 3 and 4.
So,
Well, part of the answer is that we will then be out of compliance for 2/3 of our park system for the.
Yeah, but I thought that was 2030.
No, the recycling, that zero waste is trying to get to zero waste. That's the trash portion.
Uh-huh.
The recycling ordinance is retroactive.
Oh, okay.
we are required to have a
Okay.
recycling bin next to a trash can.
Okay,
But we
My
would
timelines
send
are
somebody
wrong.
out there to do recycling and not to do trash.
Trash,
too,
sure.
So that's why that, yeah.
okay.
So, question for you about, I understand that theoretically, because of workflows and stuff in October, life is a little bit better and it might be able to work and it's gonna be pushed, but we'll see what happens. That's certainly not going to be the case come, say, April 2025. March 2025, especially, for example, at turf fields. I assume it will have a bigger impact on various workflows. When you've got a lot more people outside. And it could even, it had a huge impact in October, November, if they're warm and nice and what do you believe the potential impact on other services that those folks would be providing when either if the weather's nice and there's a lot more to deal with, or come spring and things are nicer, what are we not doing because we have staff doing this?
Can I just take the first part of
Sure
that?
can.
So really I have to retroact, I have to almost deconstruct the question because really it's the lack of maintenance that we've been able to do because we haven't had dedicated trash and recycling. So what this is doing is we're creating dedicated crews, a dedicated crew that is just focused on trash and recycling and releasing the crews that were doing that twice a week, Kim, is that accurate?
2 to 3 times.
2 to 3 times a week to be doing other, maintenance things. So we were only doing trash 2 to 3 times a week with the crews that exist. Now we're going to be able to technically do trash every day, but not as many because we only have one crew. Does that, my sort of?
I'm
Well, it's
not,
not, it's adding,
except that I thought that because of trucks and this, that, and the other and everything else, we were talking about, I thought you indicated that because there would be less other stuff going on, that all these trucks and stuff that were gonna be used, maybe I misunderstood.
It's 2 trucks. And so we have one truck, we have a loaner truck.
Sorry.
Yeah, we have a loaner
In
truck.
between.
Sorry.
Yeah, so we have a loaner truck from DVS right now. We're working with them to put 10 of our vehicles in their loaner program, so they're a little more flexible with us and understanding this. And then the season does slow down in October. We don't have as much going on our fields, so
But it's gonna pick up in the spring, which is what I'm just,
in
I
April.
guess what I'm trying to do is just make sure that as we dedicate towards this, not knowing the funding issues long term,
Right.
but are we not gonna be is there something else we're not gonna be providing? Because we have resources that we'd be using for something else
No, because we'll have dedicated resources to
at
this.
that point.
That's
Okay.
correct. And hopefully by then, we'll have the vehicles. Fingers crossed. We actually just had a meeting today with vehicle services, and we're looking into another option with solid waste. I'm not sure if you all are aware, but solid waste had us transition to private contracting for trash collection. So they are auctioning off some of their vehicles. We're not sure if they'll work for our purposes because it would require us to pick up the trash and recycling separately because you won't be able to mix them. It's a compactor truck. So essentially, we are looking into that. We'd get them a lot quicker, but I'm not sure they would be as efficient in terms of pickup and our visits to each park. So fingers crossed.
And I don't think we can count on. Let me put it this way. Whatever money we get for this next year is probably money that will be, we'll also want for other things too. It's just gonna be
Sure.
there's certainly no indication that the world's gonna be a better budget next year.
Well, think positively.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any more trash talk?
You waited to use that.
Ron, do you have some more trash talk?
I just wanted to mention, Kyle, we did do a little bit of assessment on what areas.
Sure.
And those 2 areas showed the most
Ron,
need.
did you have a question?
Yeah, well, actually, it's a 2-parter. The first would be, what do we believe the annual maintenance of the program, once it's implemented, would be? Are we looking at a $1 million funding or less than that? The other question is, what was it? No, I'll let that go. But I guess that's the question, is how much will this cost us to maintain it once we've implemented it?
So the funding that we received for staffing is recurring. So that's a big part of this is the dedicated staff. We'll of course have the capital equipment in place, but there will be some maintenance costs with the compactors. They're nominal. With our current trash collection contract with Republic, we already have set prices for things like that. So we can put that together.
It'd be the difference between the one time, so we can look and say how much of the one, it wasn't a lot of one time, like we didn't put vehicles in there. Yeah, Mike's pulling it up right now. We can tell you what the one-time costs were.
Which I guess the other thing for us to keep in mind is when anybody across the street asks about you're adding staff, you're doing stuff, it's yeah, but it was for these kind of dedicated programs versus.
Well, yeah, and that was the specific ask in the budget.
No, I know, I'm thinking a year or two from now when somebody might not remember.
It's a county requirement.
I agree.
No, his point is they're gonna forget that we asked for positions and that they agreed to fund said positions,
It's like they have.
which is, yes.
Did Ron have another question?
I think Ron had another question.
No.
Well, actually, I did remember what it was. My hope is to try to get people to not throw trash away in the park anywhere anyways. So the question is there a way with the zero waste, we can also do some communicating with the general public about please don't throw your trash on the ground. I know we haven't done a lot of posting for that.
Trash to the park.
Yeah.
So we've actually been working with our Marcom division to discuss outreach and education. So for social media, I think that'll be, it's the same that we do for kite fighting. So we'll try and educate the community through social media and work with Marcom closely to see if we can get help from our community, because you're right, that's a big player here is our community. and
Sadly,
we
you
will
would
depend
hope
on
that that would have been assumed.
Right.
We do have signs in the park to that extent. I've seen them.
No littering, no dumping.
You'll see sort of why I wanted that on there. But we did really want to give you guys an idea of what you would see in terms of ratio. So the idea is that you may see new trash cans too, because they're kind of old and yucky and outdated. So why put a brand new recycling container out next to the trash can? So that's why we wanted to show you the actual container. So we were thinking about putting a little bit of education on that, but wanted to not overwhelm the recycling.
If the trash can works and we're having problems trying to figure out money issues, and how much of the new trash, it just strikes me that buying a new trash can to replace a perfectly good trash can, just because it's not as new as the recycling thing.
We're not doing it everywhere.
Okay.
When we go install these one for one, we're assessing the trash cans that are out there.
Right.
There's some that are not so.
Oh, I get it. I misunderstood what you were saying. I thought it was
Not a whole full blown trash can replacement.
Okay.
All right, so
Each area will be about $500,000 operating costs. It's about half and half in terms of the investment right now. So that's staff, materials, upkeep, all that.
And how much is it? If we were, let's assume those numbers for a second, were to continue. I know inflation, I'm about to say, is economically not true. I get that. A year from now, we add another area. How many areas can the truck we're buying cover?
One area, each area gets a crew with the truck.
Right. So how much does a truck cost theoretically?
About 70,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so the truck,
on?
so the truck, which takes almost a year to get here, is not.
No, it's the people, it's the
The
crew.
compactor, yes, and it's the people. So at some point that would go down. So the first 3
Okay, I'm sorry,
years.
so the compactor, so you also need to, so how much are the compactors?
I want to say they're like 60 bucks. Yeah.
Okay, but you're talking 150, you're talking 150 all in for the truck and compactor. So you're talking $600,000 to set up an area and a half
500,
million,
yeah.
and a half million to run it.
Roughly.
Yeah,
Like
you know,
five and five, yes, yeah.
but it's a half million to run it. And so so as we're trying to bring it on, okay.
We probably, I mean, Leighton, we probably leave a little bit on the table because they have to replace stuff and just for supplies and stuff, but I mean, that would be.
I just
10,
ballpark.
Yes, yeah.
Trying to get from the Board of Supervisors.
And are we ready to move on to the pickleball haters presentation?
Wow.
What a way to set it up.
Thank you, Linwood.
Apparently we're over allocated in pickleball from what I understand.
Tell you. We did cup run. What else did we just do? And field allocation together. I think that there's to be a role. So I wanted to come in and sort of talk about Kendale. We've heard a lot, or those of you who have been paying sort of attention to the Kendale pickleball situation. I wanted to come in and explain sort of where we are with that. This is a map of Kendale. So I'm going to back us up to 2018 when so the explosion of pickleball was at a height, and we were in the let's provide for this amenity as much as we can. So every time we were going to go out someplace, every time we were going to restripe, we just restriped for pickleball. Then sometime around 2020, we thought, Park Authority, we need an actual plan. We can't just do this willy-nilly. So we worked on a plan, and in 2021, we came up with the pickleball study, which identified a need to identify a distance from houses because of noise complaints. Somewhere around 2021, if you remember, maybe you don't remember, Ken definitely remembers, a similar issue in the town of Vienna when they did the same thing. They provided pickleball and they had to close those pickleball courts as well. And so after that, in 2024, when we came with our pickleball site selection criteria, we identified, because of noise pollution issues, that pickleball courts should be sited no less than 250 feet from the residence. What we didn't do, we did not go back and retroactively remove or convert all pickleball courts that were within that noise distance. Instead, we took a wait and see approach, and we said, if people come and complain who live within that distance, we would then remove those pickleball courts. So that is the situation with Kendale Court. This is a map of Kendale, the shared pickleball use. You can see the distance from houses that pickleball court is within. We have, in fact, received complaints from houses that are within the 250 feet, multiple complaints about the noise issue. There's also a slope issue there as well. We have established a distance for noise pollution. It is unethical for us to make anybody have to live within that noise pollution distance, despite all of the public pressures to do so. So I've heard a lot of things about that. There's a lot of people who want to keep it. It can be just one person who lives within the 250 foot buffer distance. I will say that we have 16 pickleball courts within a 5-mile radius of Kendale, and we are diligently working on adding dedicated pickleball courts to Mason District Park, which is about a mile away from Kendale. We are going to be opening that. Brendan left 2024, spring next year, 2025. This is 2024. Hopefully spring of 2020, 2025. So I just wanted to show sort of where we're talking. I think that the lowest distance from a house is 120 feet from a residence, and that's where we are with Kendale. Hindsight is 2020. Same thing with the Vienna courts. People say, why did you put them in there if you didn't know the distance? And the answer was, well, we could have waited till 2021 to start providing pickleball, and then we'd only have 20 courts instead of 87. So that's one of the things in trying to be proactive with something that's exploding as it is. You're gonna get some things, wrong. You're gonna get some things too close to houses, and then you just have to be willing to go back and sort of fix the situation.
Fortunately, it's minimal cost. It's not like we invested $1 million to put the stripes on the court and stuff like that. So,
Right.
and obviously, legitimate concern.
Mhm.
The the noise and stuff like that. But I kind of hope, almost sidebar to what we're talking about tonight, that the pickleball community will maybe try to revisit their hardware just a little bit to reduce the noise, to minimize.
It's already,
That's being
that's
done.
already taken.
Because,
Yeah.
that's the main complaint, just the frequency of the equipment used. Not even the volume, but that frequency carries pretty well, and
They're
Some
already,
people
they're
are
already selling,
talking about reduced noise
they're already selling these
requirements.
copper paddles.
yeah,
So that the industry is doing something in that regard. Yeah.
yeah.
Because they found out a lot of people don't like the noise.
Yeah.
I know.
It's $175 now.
For the softer paddles?
Yeah.
Much more than the other paddles.
Anybody else have any questions or comments about the pickleball stuff? Kim, thank you very, very much. Very good presentation
Thank you.
tonight. You were on for a while.
So have a good night.
Does anybody else have any business for the Park Operations Committee? Seeing none, I adjourn the Park Operations.
All right, thank you. And then we are in recess until 7:30 or so.
Go downstairs.
That's what I was gonna ask, who's providing adult supervision?
Could you guys turn your mics up? I cannot hear anything in the room.
Yes, I'm right at 5. Can you hear me now?
I've got you now.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Sarah Wysocki, and I'm a longtime resident of Annandale, Virginia, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today. I urge the board to listen with an open mind and perhaps even an open heart. I want to start by addressing the comments that Ms. Cole made about the noise of pickleball being listed as a public health nuisance because FCPA is being pressured to classify it as such. A reasonable question to ask is, where is this pressure coming from? It's not from the CDC or the Fairfax County Health Department. My suspicion is that it's from the DMVA Tennis Academy or the hate group Pickleball Noise Relief pressuring the FCPA on this matter. What the CDC and Fairfax County Health list as a public health concerns are loneliness, a sedentary lifestyle, heart disease, and a whole slew of other ailments that pickleball is a perfect antidote for. Moreover, Ms. Cole said that even one person being bothered by pickleball noise is enough to close the courts because it's the moral thing to do. I personally find that to be a terrifying statement. As a teacher, I would never allow my students to rely on a single source to decide their stance on a matter, because doing so is dangerous and oftentimes will lead to biased findings. It's important to check our sources to ensure we're equitable, inclusive, and we're making educated decisions. Currently, we don't know if FCPA has received any complaints. A recent FOIA request has yet to yield any results, but what we do know is that our community has come together in strong support of keeping these courts. Nearly all the houses adjacent to the courts say they want to keep them, and the moral thing to do is listen and hear what the community is saying. The homeowner closest to the courts, which isn't me, said that they loved the sound of people playing pickleball because it made them feel safe and let them know that they weren't alone. It seems the right thing to do is consider residents' feelings of safety and connectedness to the community, because we know without a doubt that those things directly impact our health. Other neighbors said that the courts brought the community together in a way that they had never seen before. Others remember Kendall Woods Park being filled with graffiti and neglected, but those days are long gone. The pickleball community has taken care of these courts, giving up precious Saturday mornings to clean them because they weren't being maintained well. While we were told we could go 5 miles away and play at other courts, our kids can't walk 5 miles away to play with their friends in the woods surrounding the courts, or play basketball while their parents are playing pickleball.
If you follow news on children's mental health, you're probably aware of the rise of depression and other mental health issues in children. But there's an abundance of research showing unstructured outdoor playtimes gives our kids a mighty boost in their mental health. At the Kendall Woods Park, our kids feel safe. They don't have to worry about drugs or alcohol or violence when they come here. And that's not the case in many parks 5 miles in a 5-mile radius of there. They don't have to worry about these things because this is a neighborhood park where the community watches out for each other. We can't replicate that at another park. Since hearing the FCPA's plans to convert our courts to tennis only, our message has been clear. We will work with you on finding a compromise that best suits the community. FCPA's own guideline states that existing pickleball that's within 250 feet from residential properties should remain, provided there's no complaints. And if there are complaints, then mitigation measures should be considered. There have been no efforts to mitigate sound complaints. The only thing FCPA did was put up wind guards, which are not meant to block sound. Once again, we want to come up with solutions for this. And according to your own guidelines, we are owed this right. Our ask of you is simple. Hold off on any changes to the Kendall Woods courts until you can verify that there were noise complaints and where they came from. 2, conduct a noise study specific to the Kendall Woods location, given that it has a natural barrier of woods between the homes and the courts. Allow for noise mitigation efforts to be made. Most importantly, listen to the community and those living within 250 feet of these courts. They are wanted, they are valued, and important to our community. I'm presenting you letters of support from the community members and a petition with signatures of those residents living adjacent to the courts, stating they are in favor for keeping these courts, and a copy of our online petition, which at the time of printing had close to 500 signatures. All in support of keeping the courts at Kendall Woods. It's undemocratic to close these courts because of one complaint, and some would argue that it's downright immoral to do so. And I have 2.5 more minutes, so we did go door to door. Your time is expired. Oh, it is expired. Oh, good. I was when I do multiple letters of support from multiple people. We have signatures from nearly every single house, boarding. They're within 250 feet, almost every single one. And to say one person can control our fate, look at history. That has not worked out well in the past. It's not going to work out well now because we're still going to play pickleball there. So we live in a democratic society, and you guys are treading dangerously. So thank you for the 5 minutes plus, and I hope that you can open your minds to logic, reasons, facts, and the community that you're supposed to serve. Thank you.
Mr. Anthony Kaczewski for 5 minutes.
Can you hear me online?
Yes, we can.
Good. Greetings and thank you FCPA for allowing me to speak this evening. I also come here to you this evening to speak on behalf of Kendall Woods Park, located in Annandale, Virginia. As noted, this park has been designated to remove pickleball nets and lines. My neighbor, Sarah, has already highlighted how important the park is to the community. Many inquiries have been asked, and we have been told noise complaints and parking violations are the root cause as to why the decision by FCP has been made. I have read through the meeting minutes of 2023 and 2024. I note there was no mention of this park considered for alteration to remove pickleball lines. The FCPA site states the following planning process should be undertaken. Staff develops a well-informed perspective of the park, host a public meeting to share information about the park, carefully listen to the community input. Park users, neighbors, and stakeholders are notified and encouraged to share their insights throughout a planning process. These steps did not take place, and we were not afforded this to the community. Page 32 of the commonly referenced pickleball study by the FCPA states the following. It is inappropriate to change the use of a court if such a change would result in significant reduction of adopted service levels or conflicts between sports that cannot be minimized or mitigated. On May 16, Per USA 9 News, Executive Director Jay Cole said the following: "They didn't hold a public meeting because this was an operational decision based on county's criteria. I would like to note the following. Pickleball has been played on these courts for over 5 years. Lines and portable nets have only been provided by the county since last summer. Pickleball will continue to be played here. Criteria that was established after the fact. Kendall Woods Park should be grandfathered in as an exemption. The direct local community are the users of, and those of us have voiced an opinion. Do not destroy our community courts. We are willing to listen to reason. We ask the FCPA to do the same. Pause this alteration to the court, allow the public to have a hearing, and discuss mitigation of any issues brought forward." I was online about an hour ago when this issue was discussed, and the town of Vienna came up. I happen to know in the town of Vienna that they were afforded mitigation chances. We were not in this scenario. An FCPA memorandum from Executive Director Jay Cole dated February 23rd, 2024, posted on May 13, page 93. Existing pickleball that is within 250 feet from residential properties shall remain provided there are no noise complaints. Should there be noise complaints, sound mitigation measures should be considered. In this instance, we have not been provided with this opportunity to mitigate, nor have we seen a valid complaint. In an email from Mason District Supervisor Jimenez to myself, he states the following based on his inquiry with the FCPA. The FCPA has responded to the following. The operational decision to make this adjustment to the courts was made in response to the community concerns and was based solely on these guidelines, which dictate courts should not be placed within 250 feet of residential property. This statement tells me the decision was made without community input and without a complaint filed from a community member. It's important to note that we are talking about one tennis court converted to pickleball for shared use. Our park does not have other community members from Reston, Arlington, Springfield, you name it, come to our courts and play 24 hours. At most, 2 pickleballs are in play at one time, not dozens. In addition, we can only play during daylight hours with within local noise ordinances. Item 24 of the Fairfax County Noise Ordinance states the following. Source and sound, activity on recreational ground used for its intended activity, 7 to 11 or 7 to 10 p.m. depending on the day. Max decibels in residential areas not to exceed 80 decibels for impulse sounds. Continuous sound not to exceed 55 decibels. Note, pickleball not mentioned in any Fairfax County ordinance. A study by Professor Kaushik Sarkar at George Washington University noted the following. Pickleball courts emitted a steady stream of 45 decibels, sometimes getting up to 50 or 55 at loud moments. Passing cars emit 60 decibels. Another neighbor recently filed a Freedom of Information Act request and was presented with the following statement from Mr. Benjamin Boxer. Good morning, Mr. Summerfield. In our discussion this afternoon, you requested a summary document which provided a chronology of complaints pertaining to noise or pickleball activities at Kendall Woods Park, courts that included the nature of the complaint, the date received, and the name of the complainant. After speaking with staff, the park authority has no such record. The direct community, those of us that neighbor this park, have asked to see these complaints referred to many times over. Nothing has been shown. No noise complaint, no parking violations, not even via Freedom of Information Request Act. We have come here today to ask you the following reasonable action of the FCPA. Hit pause on destroying the courts and wasting taxpayer money. This is not a solution. It does not solve a problem that has yet to be validated by the community. This is not solely about a group of pickleball players wanting to lose their court. It's about following the established procedures the FCPA has published and allow the actual neighbors that live and breathe here that use the park to be present and discuss the issues and have a voice. At this, Kaczewski. My name is Kaczewski. All right. In closing, I would like to share with you the following testimonial from an actual neighbor. I am a member of this community and I do not play pickleball. I live very close to the courts. The noise from pickleball is no more disruptive than the noise from the pool that is across the walking path, or people mowing their lawns, or people's dogs barking, or school children playing at recess at school. We live in a suburban area, not a suburban one. We don't live in an HOA. Humans getting out and enjoying their community makes noise. It's a welcome and inspiring one. Also by law, noise is allowed during the daylight hours that is occurring. Pickleball was played there before you provided the lines and nets. I doubt that what you are doing will take away the noise. This does not need to happen. It's a court that I can walk to, and I am sure will continue to play as they did before. There are no lights, so no one plays at dusk, well within the legal time frame for noise. In short, this is taxpayers' waste of money, not a solution.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Timothy Warder. My fiance and I moved to the neighborhood of the Briarcrest Kendall Court, a 5-minute walk from said court back in November, though we have been part of the community in Annandale for many years. I am here today to express my strong opposition to the proposal to strip the pickleball lines from the court and deprive the immediate community of a reason they come together. The pickleball court is an asset to this community, offering recreational space that is easily accessible by foot. Unlike facilities that require driving, the convenience of this court encourages local residents to engage in healthy activities without contributing to traffic congestion or pollution well known to exist when needing to traverse the densely car-traveled and pedestrian unsafe roads such as Gallows Road, Columbia Pike, and Little River Turnpike in order to access any of the other proposed locations for a pickleball session up to about 5 miles away. This court is not only for avid pickleball players, but also serves as a welcoming space for children, elderly, or lesser-abled individuals looking to play a quick game without needing a reservation or having to deal with competitive players. It provides an inclusive environment where people of all skill levels can enjoy the game without feeling overshadowed by more competitive players. This accessibility fosters a sense of community and a belonging that is essential for our neighborhood. Moreover, our area already hosts a tennis court, basketball court, playground, and swimming pool, not to mention the various other neighborhood activities such as mowing lawns, table saws, cutting wood, and other very loud activities. The noise from the pickleball is no more disruptive than these other activities. The argument based on the sound study conducted elsewhere does not hold water here. If noise is a concern, are these other factors not of the same concern, or given the evolving technology of pickleball, if noise is concerned, or given the evolving technology of the established rules for the required equipment or times in which the game could take place. I can admit that anyone needing to deal with the undesired noise is understandable, but taking the nuclear option in an attempt to prevent play comes off as an unwillingness to negotiate or survey within the community and try to come to an agreement. Lastly, I am not alone in this sentiment. Many of my neighbors, plenty here, who value the pickleball court stand with me in opposition to this proposal, including those who were unable to make it due to the lack of communication of this issue until the revealed in the Annandale newspaper. We believe that removing the pickleball lines would be a disservice to the community, disservice to the inclusive and active lifestyle we cherish. In conclusion, I urge you to consider the significant benefits that the pickleball court brings to our local community and how removing it would contribute to the nationwide, not in my backyardism, that seeks to isolate communities. Let's keep this space inclusive and accessible and vibrant for all. Thank you for your time and consideration.
All right, thank you all. Moving on, we have one administrative item this evening. It's the adoption of the minutes. Administrative item number 1 is the recommended adoption of the minutes of the April 24, 2024 Park Authority Board meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? A motion carries. 3 action items this evening. In the Springfield District, action item number 1 is the recommended approval of the project scope for the replacement of existing sand filters at Cub Run Rec Center. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? All opposed? That motion carries. In the Franconia District, action item number 2 is the recommended approval of the project scope to provide accessibility upgrades and ADA access to Jefferson Manor Park. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. In the Mason District, action item number 3 is a recommended approval of a Maston Brook Grant Award in the amount of $12,945 for the renovation of the Diamond Field at Park Lawn Park. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, this is Ron Kendall. I make a motion to approve the Mastonbrook grant.
And a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. We have just one information item this evening. It's a summary of the Board of Supervisors. Public hearing testimony is presented to and reviewed by the Communications and Community Engagement Committee last meeting. Chairman's matters, the only thing I've got this evening is just to kind of close the loop on the what fiscal year are we in, 25, or will be in 26? So entering 25. Thank you, Tim. The 20. That's a more confusing math in addition, though. Closing the loop on the, or closing the door on the fiscal year 25 budget. We did, as I said during our last meeting, we were working with a couple of supervisors, and I do want to publicly thank Supervisor Bierman and Supervisor Jimenez for pushing a couple items before their colleagues for us related to some trail maintenance funds and additional trash maintenance. Unfortunately, that ended up dying on the vine, but we did get some budget guidance that I think is general and in general supportive of a number of things we're trying to go through. And I just, to make sure the entire board is on the same page and understanding of where that is, I just want to read kind of the main gist of it. So county staff, in concert with the Park Authority Board, are directed to review the current funding structure of FCPA to determine if there are alternative approaches that could be considered to improve park services, facilities, and maintenance, and further address equity. The board recognizes, this board, in this case is the Board of Supervisors, recognizes that these changes will require significant fiscal resources and organizational change, and expects any recommendations to be phased in over multiple years. So if you listen to the Board of Supervisors dialogue over the budget process, you heard park maintenance come up many times by many different supervisors. It's something they're focused on. Equally so is the equity related ask that we kind of started with the presentation in January. So I think they heard us on both those fronts. While there are no specific dollars or specific kind of programs that they're attaching support to in this budget guidance language, the fact that they took the time to kind of call out those items in specific, I think is good news for us in general, that it's something they'll be paying attention to and working with us over the coming year. So kind of cautiously optimistic to see how that goes. Kind of in the fall when we put together our ask and talk to our board appointers. That is the only thing I wanted to cover. Jay, it's all you.
Right. So winter's kind of slow, but we started spring off with a bang. Next slide. So we received the Michael Hoffman Award, which is presented annually by the Council of Virginia Archaeologists. It's named in honor of Michael Hoffman, professor of anthropology at the University of Virginia. A lot of people don't realize how significant and large our archaeology program is, and that we do archaeology not only on parkland, but for county archaeological ordinances. So we were recognized for our 30-year dedication to assuring that archaeological resources throughout the county are recorded, cemetery recordation initiative, and educational programs. So we're very, I am very proud of our archaeologists, and there you go. Next slide. Okay. So we, Park Authority has a new inline skating rink. What park is it in, Bill?
It's in the best lakefront park in the county, Lake Fairfax.
Okay. We didn't even plan that. It was a really wonderful day. It ended up being a beautiful day. It's a public-private partnership we had with the Washington Capitals. It's really awesome partnership to deliver this park amenity. It originated from a shared idea from within the community. The Capitals donated the rink via turnkey installation and an improved site construction, site constructed by the Park Authority. We had a ribbon cutting. There was a clinic that was hosted by the Capitals Youth Hockey Development Team. We had a whole bunch of kids that came out for that free clinic, and the rink is open for general use from 9 a.m. until dark, and reservations are available. We will be programming that space at some point as well. Next slide. Elmore House opened at Frying Pan Farm Park. This is a historic house. It's part of our residential curatorship program. Service Source was awarded the sublease in 2022 to restore and convert the farmhouse to provide opportunities for participants in its long-term community integration services program to have employment in a variety of therapeutic and recreational programs. They have a gift shop called the Bloom Gift Shop that offers handcrafted cards and keepsakes that were produced by participants in the program, and the proceeds go to the creators. It's a great little gift shop. And there's a cafe which has really good sandwiches, I have to say. Offers light snacks and sandwiches for Frying Pan Farm Park visitors, not just visitors to the Elmore House. They really are sort of filling that niche of all of the people who come and traverse Frying Pan Farm Park. So I encourage you, if you're out there, come on out and grab a sandwich. Next slide. The Force is Strong at Healthy Strides. So on May the 4th, Healthy Strides was out there. Somebody, oh, we don't have a picture of Mr. Ken was there as well.
Reason for that. I thought that was him as the Jedi.
Yeah, it could have been. So it's one of our most popular springtime events. This year's event sold out even in the rain. It was held on March 11th. We had 50 spots and they sold out on March 12th. The race included individuals, families, and teams from LiveWell, FCPS, Wellness, Union Mills Elementary School, and Park Authority's Human Resources Division. More than $700 was raised at the event through the Park Foundation to support the FCPA Wonder Wagon and Burke Lake Park. And the shirts were pretty cool. They say May the 4th. It has that logo. May the 4th be with you. Next slide. Wetland Awareness Day. I'm sorry that all these pictures are of me. It was my camera. I sent them out. This is not trying to, but wetland, celebrating Wetland Awareness Day. It was really great at Huntley Meadow. You know, a lot of times we have events that are sort of specific to one nature center. I really love wetland. It was raining, but Wetlands Awareness Day, because everybody comes together in the region to talk about wetlands. So it was all of the different nature centers, including Huntley Meadows. There was the state, there was Animal Protection Police, there was Natural Resources, there was, remember who else? So many different, everybody, if you touch wetlands, you had a tent. And so people and families could walk around and learn a lot about wetlands and the critters that live in them. And on the way out to Huntley Meadows, really get a really good education. There was a raptor center. So you can see me with a couple of owls, which is really cool. And we got a snake. Supervisor Lust came out. I love the bottom pictures because I'm just sitting around and these little girls start pointing at me and I don't know why they're pointing at me, and it's because I have a caterpillar on my back. And then the next picture is our interpreters doing what they do, and she took it off my back and she gave a whole little class for these young kids to learn about this particular caterpillar. So next slide. Farmers markets. They're all open. Members of the Board of Supervisors join in opening all 10 Park Authority farmers markets for the 2024-25 season. Markets are strictly producer only. Vendors sell only what they grow or produce from scratch. All producers come from a 125-mile radius. We also have food scrap collection and composting is available at all 10 markets, and SNAP benefits are available at select farmers markets. The benefits doubled up to $40 for purchasing fresh fruits and vegetables. So thank you to all the supervisor came out, and thank you to all the Park Authority board members who joined me at 8 o'clock in the morning to open the farmers markets. If you didn't have to do that, you're at large, congratulations, or you had an afternoon opening. And so that was great too. But I think the farmers markets I'd love to get out of that 2 weeks of opening with not owing us money, because I think I spend every time I come back with a box of fresh fruits and vegetables. It's really great. Next slide. I think is that it? Oh, celebrating community in our parks. We had a lot of community events the last few weeks. Community thrives at Fairfax County Parks, and we're heavily invested in partnering with the community groups and county agencies to bring communities together. Colmore Community Day, it was raining. It was the same day as the Healthy Strides, the 5K, but still more than 500 attendees participated in this annual community resource fair. It had health screenings, food, entertainment, connections to a wealth of community services, resources, and programs, sort of like the Wetlands Appreciation Day. Any service that provides a free or reduced service to our residents was there with a tent, including us with Rec Pack. The Wonder Wagon was there, and there were a lot of community acts. There was a llama, 2 llamas. See the top left, that's real llamas. So that was great too. Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month celebration. We partnered with the Asian American Community Center for this first time event. It was at Mason District Park. We had more than 300 attendees who enjoyed a variety of performances, food, and activities inspired by multiple cultures. Is that it? And then I just, want to, Memorial Day is coming. So this weekend, we are going to be opening all of our pools, all 3 of our pools. So Watermine opening is on Saturday. MLK Pool opens on Saturday. Our Special Harbor at Franconia Park opens on Saturday. It really is the start of the kickoff of the summer and our swim schedule. I will say that our staff did a yeoman's job. But I think that people take for granted the whole idea of being able to open up on Memorial Day. In order to open up on Memorial Day, we have to staff all of those facilities, and our staff did a really wonderful job of getting the staff, and we're almost fully staffed for pools, you think? On track. Josh is like, don't ask. Yes, we're going to be opening. So that's really great, but just know that Memorial Day is where we start to really sprint. So that's it.
Thank you. Board matters. Ron, do you have anything this evening?
Well, first I'd want to say we had a wonderful crowd at the Green Spring Gardens spring plant sale. Over 1,800 attendees came to that on a soggy Saturday, which was a really good crowd. We had approximately 40 vendors, and it was a wonderful time. I want to thank staff for finally bringing down the house at White Gardens so that now we have a fresh slate there to move forward on. I'm hoping that that's something that's on the agenda for the near future. And I also want to thank the folks in and around Broyles Hill Crest for coming tonight and expressing their views. We have an active and vibrant community in Mason District that is always willing to discuss the things that are important to them. So I thank them for coming and giving them the board about their interest.
Thank you, Ron. Abena?
I just wanted to say thank you to staff for all the great work you've been doing as represented through the presentations. And that's it.
All right, Michael?
Yeah, I just want to thank staff that are dealing with all of the weather issues surrounding making the fields available for all the kids that are out there playing. I know there's been a lot of rain. I know that makes them hard to mow. I know it makes it hard to open. I know that y'all are working your butts off. I know that there are 45,000 soccer players. There are 12 or 15,000 lacrosse players, field hockey players, that, everything else, as well as all the adults that are out there. It's not an easy job. And what impresses me most is, as I've been on this board for a long time, but I've been on the athletic council even longer. This is probably the wettest spring where there haven't been proactively lots of complaints from the different sports organizations about the park authority staff getting those fields ready and making them as available as possible. So I just want to thank staff for all the work they're doing in that space and really appreciate it.
Linwood?
Then correct me if I say anything wrong here, but anyway, the bathrooms at Laurel Hill will finally be open this upcoming weekend.
Yes.
In a multi-year project, and Amy has taken plenty of abuse recently on this, as have some other staff members, and thank you very, very much for your hard work, and just thank you for that. There will be and this is where I might need your help, Ben. A National Trails Day celebration in the vicinity of that new bathroom, and also in the vicinity of the cross-country trail, right there, 9 o'clock, Saturday morning on the 1st. So I hope to see some of you there, and you will definitely have a place to go to the bathroom.
It's bathroom.
Is it a pretty bathroom?
It's the pretty bathroom. It's a beautiful bathroom.
Did I get it right, Ben?
You did, sir.
I don't remember any of that.
You did it again.
What do I'm asking if I'm not saying?
Don't call me sir.
My turn.
If Linwood is done, it is, yes.
If Linwood is done,
If Linwood is
you're
done.
not getting home tonight before dark.
I know.
Sorry. Thank you, to all the citizens that came out. We really appreciate that. We love your input. You know, we'll take it into consideration for sure. So, but thank you for coming out. We don't get this often. A lot of times we're in this room pretty much by ourselves, but we're glad that you're committed to, you know, stating your case. And that's the best you can do.
Says a lot if there's so many of us here and there's usually no one here. So hopefully you'll actually listen.
Second thing was, the inline skate rink is beautiful. It's a full inline skate rink at Lake Fairfax Park. We neglected to mention that the National Hockey League
Did I not say that?
seed money, you said the Caps, but it's the NHL money that got this whole thing started. And really, this is a project, it ended up to be almost $2 million. And we didn't use a whole lot of public money on it. This was a combination of proffer dollars and dollars from the NHL and the Washington Capitals. So a true public-private partnership that truly worked. And then the last thing is the Elmore House opening was just so touching with Service Source and everybody being there. But the guy I get the biggest kick out of is the Pisano thing. He is so good, and they're still involved in bringing everything together. They did the construction, part of the construction on this site. And if you have not been to the spray park, it's the Joey Pisano spray park. That's really cool down in Franconia. But the Pisanos are still involved in making their community even better. So shout out to the Pisanos. That's it.
Thank you. Tim?
I pass, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Cynthia?
I just want to thank the staff for all of the wonderful things that you always do. So thank you.
Jonah?
Thank you to the residents that have come out tonight to talk about this pickleball issue. I mean, as residents just like you, we're always glad to have your company in trying to do the best thing for the parks in our county. Also want to thank the staff for all their work in putting together these and opening all these water facilities. As a mom, I know that my kid is dreaming and of an amazing summer, and all the work that you're doing is making these kids' dreams come true for the summer. So thank you.
Ken?
I would also like to thank all of you all for coming and stating your opinions and giving us information. We appreciate public input, believe me. We act on it. I would also like to underline what Jay said about the Healthy Strides 5K, 10K race. It was a sellout, and it was masterfully planned and carried out by a great staff and volunteers. I have been involved in setting these runs up with no picnic. Staff and volunteers do a great job.
Faisal? Nothing for me, sir. All right. Ben, I forgot to mention it, but could you give us a rundown of Trails Day?
Yes, sir. National Trails Day will take place Saturday, June 1st, beginning at 9 a.m. It will run to 11 p.m. We're going to have a commemorative speaking component. We're going to have Congressman John Conley attend, members of the Board of Supervisors, Park Authority, to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the Jerry Connolly Cross County Trail. We're also going to do a ribbon cutting for the bathroom. And we're gonna have the Wonder Wagon, the fire department, the equestrians, the bikers, the hikers, and there'll be all kinds of activities going on at Central Green on Saturday, June 1st.
Thank you, sir. Allison, do you have anything else to come before us this evening? All right. And at 8:08 PM on May 22nd, the Park Authority Board meeting is adjourned.
And look, only for you.
Thank you.
Get outside.
It's a 40 minute.